Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Eala back in Rafa Nadal Academy ahead of US Open stint. Eala has returned to familiar grounds at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, sharpening her game on the hard courts in preparation for her upcoming campaign at the US Open later this month. Advertisement. The 20-year-old Filipina tennis star hasn't seen action since July 28th, or when she absorbed a 3-6, 6-1, 6-2 loss to Czech Republic's Marketa Vondrousova in the Canadian Open. After that tournament, Eala had to withdraw from the Cincinnati Open due to a shoulder injury, which also forced her to miss the Montreal Open as well. But Eala appears to be recovering well, already back to her training routine, as shown in videos shared by the Rafa Nadal Academy on Monday. The development came just days after Eala dropped to number 68 in the world rankings. She reached a career high of number 56 back in June. The sun in Mallorca rose a little softer that morning. Not the usual fierce glare that soaked the clay courts by mid-morning, but a golden shimmer, as if the island itself was stretching from slumber. Eala stepped out of the dorms at the Rafa Nadal Academy, her racket bag slung over one shoulder, a quiet focus in her eyes. It had been months since she last walked this path, the familiar crunch of gravel underfoot, the scent of sweat and sunblock lingering in the air, the melodic thwack of balls hitting strings echoing from distant courts. She was home, or at least, one of the few places in the world that felt like it. Since her early teens, the academy had been more than a training ground. It was a crucible, a place where fire was shaped into form, where she had learned not only how to win, but how to lose, how to study the scars and see them as lessons. Now, at 20, with a WTA title under her belt and critics finally calling her not just a rising star, but a serious contender, Alex was back, not to reminisce, but to sharpen, to dig into the grit before the lights of New York called her name. The US Open was 3 weeks away, and every day counted. Day 1, re-entry. Coach Gustavo met her at court 6, already bouncing a ball in his hand. He was older now, hair thinning, but his eyes still had the spark, the kind of quiet intensity that matched hers. "Bienvenida, Alex," he said, grinning. "How long before you hate me again?" She laughed, dropping her bag and stretching out her shoulder. "Depends how many suicides you make me run today." 6 sets, no mercy. She groaned theatrically, but inside she was glad. There was no time to ease in. Day 4, memory and muscle. There was something about the way the red clay clung to her socks. Something grounding. She had been raised on this surface. Slow, demanding, merciless to impatience. But New York wouldn't wait for her to grind. The US Open, loud, electric, played on hard court, was an entirely different animal. Faster, less forgiving. Her footwork had to be sharper, her reaction quicker, her serve more aggressive. Yet here she was, training on clay. Some might call it counterintuitive. Alex called it foundational. "If I can win points here," she told herself during a particularly brutal rally, "I'll fly on hard court." Her hands ached. Her legs screamed. But she welcomed the pain like an old rival. Necessary. Familiar. At night, she soaked in ice baths and reviewed footage. Her own matches. IGA Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Madison Keys. Not just studying their strokes, but their choices, their psychology midpoint. She wasn't here just to train. She was here to prepare for war. Day 7, ghosts and goals. In the cafeteria, she caught sight of Rafa himself, seated in the corner with his team, mid-conversation. He looked relaxed, but even from afar, his aura was unmistakable. She remembered how once, when she was 15, he had sat next to her after a match she'd lost in straight sets. "You fight. That is good. But you must believe that your fight matters," he'd said, tapping her chest, where her heart thumped. Today, she didn't approach him. She didn't need to. That voice, his voice, was already inside her head every time she felt like giving up mid-drill. Later that day, Coach Gustavo paused their session to speak plainly. "Last year, you made the second round in New York. This year, people expect more." "I expect more," she said quickly. "Good, because they will come for you now. You're no longer the dark horse. You're a target, Alex nodded, breathing heavily. Then let them aim. Day 10, silence before storm. The days blurred together in sweat, sun, and swing. Practice in the morning. Strategy sessions midday. Conditioning in the evening. She hit with juniors, sparred with top academy players, even brought in a former ATP pro to help return heavier serves. Everything was building toward peaking at the right moment. One evening, after a particularly brutal session, she wandered alone down to the beach, just past the academy grounds. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of fire and lavender. She dug her toes into the sand and stared out across the horizon. The U.S. Open was unlike anything else. Noise, pressure, crowds with opinions, media narratives she couldn't control. But here, in this moment, there was only stillness. And she promised herself she would carry this quiet into the storm. Day 13, the test. A surprise match. An internal exhibition against another academy alumna, older, ranked higher, back in Mallorca for a week of recovery. No cameras. No fans. Just pride. Alex lost the first set 6-2. Her timing off. Her mind rushing. During the changeover, she closed her eyes and pictured Court 17 in New York. The sound of subway trains rumbling underneath. The crowd, restless and loud. The tension. Then she took a breath and returned to the present. She won the second set 7-5. And the third, 6-3. Gustavo didn't say anything afterward. He didn't need to. She had passed the test. Day 17, departure. Her bags were packed again. The familiar weight of the racket bag over her shoulder. The academy faded behind her as the car pulled away toward the airport. She looked out the window, not with nostalgia, but with focus. The Rafa Nadal Academy had done its job. She wasn't just fitter now, she was clearer, more ruthless. She had spent 17 days scraping away distraction, doubt, and ego. And what was left was sharp as a blade. Epilogue: New York awaits. At JFK, the city buzzed with late summer heat and the scent of ambition. Players arrived in waves. Cameras flashed. Social media filled with clips and predictions. Eala moved quietly through the terminal. No entourage. No flash. But inside, she carried fire. Not the kind that burned fast and bright. The kind that simmered beneath the surface. Controlled, deadly, inevitable. The draw would be announced in a few days. The press would ask their questions, but only the court would hear her answers. She wasn't here to impress. She was here to win.